Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and we have some good news from the APK. According to a bunch of star creators, most notably who hit me up right away, Hunter on Hive and Mateo Stein, Thor has been buffed. Now, normally I wouldn't make a video about this because it's a few buffs, it's a few changes, but so many people in the community were making a big deal out of Thor not being strong enough, so I wanted to highlight on the positive side the devs listening, hearing the feedback from the star creators, hearing the feedback from the community, and making sure that the lead character, the title character, right, the main protagonist, it's literally called the Herald Thor update. It's not the Valkyrie update, it's not the Loki update, it's the Herald Thor update. So of course, he needs to be strong. Now, I had mentioned in the previous videos when I covered their initial looks that Valkyrie and Loki are going to appear to be much stronger than Thor, and they're going to appear like they got a much bigger buff because they were just so weak. Right? It's really easy to take a really skinny guy. This is maybe not the best example, but take a really skinny guy and make him muscular. It's not easy, but I'm saying it's much easier for a casual, like just the casual glance to see and be like, wow, you know, before and after he's so muscular. But to show you the more refined, more subtle change of a muscular guy getting into bodybuilding shape maybe is not necessarily going to be as obvious, and then people may just sort of offhandedly, or their first judgment might be to say that he didn't get enough love. So I was going to reserve my judgment regardless, so I wasn't going to make a negative video being like, oh, Thor's not strong enough or whatever. I was trying to avoid that. But hey, they buffed him, so at least we can look at the buff now and sort of salivate in advance of Thor. I cannot wait. We're like 24, maybe like 28 hours away from the update dropping. I cannot wait to get my hands on Thor. I'm going to be insta-buying his uniform on stream, live on Twitch, and trying it out. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure that you go to twitch.tv/Cynicalex, hit the follow now, and then you'll be able to chat because it's a 10-minute wait time. Anyways, long story short, twitch.tv/Cynicalex. Very cool stuff. So let's cover the changes. Now, originally, as far as my memory is concerned, as far as my memory remembers, as far as I recall, there we go, Alex. His uniform buff was not very much. The uniform effect was just bumping up his lightning damage by 5% and bumping up his damage reduction, the damage received, by 5%. So originally, Herald Thor on the APK was 20% lightning damage here on that line at the top there, and then 20% damage received reduction, 20% damage reduction. Now they've done something completely different, and thank you to Hunter on Hive, great YouTube channel covering the game, covering the APK. Check him out. They've changed it, so he provided me with these screenshots. So I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see. It almost looks like Herald Thor is in my game. Soon. Okay, so now instead of getting the lightning damage, he has 10% chain hit, which is actually really nice. Doesn't mean that he's going to be good or, you know, it's going to be easy to play him with the CTP of energy, but if you can make his proc work with a CTP of energy, this is really good synergy because you can get up to 30% chain hit damage with a CTP of energy. That'll bump it up to 40%. It's really, really nice. And then he still gets 20% damage reduction. So that's still getting bumped up by 5%. But now you're wondering, well, what happened? The 15% lightning damage, Alex, he lost 15% elemental damage. That's actually worth something, isn't it? It is worth something. So they actually went ahead and also buffed his Power of Asgard passive. So they moved the 15% lightning damage. So he didn't actually lose anything. He gained the chain hit damage, and they just moved the lightning damage. So here he has 15% lightning damage, and then here he has 5% lightning damage. Now he has 20% lightning damage on that Power of Asgard passive. So we were making fun of him. Oh, Thor, 5% lightning damage. So now it's 20%. So, I mean, technically, if you want to get really technical, he lost 5% lightning damage because before on the APK it was 20% on the uniform and 5% on the passive. But I would gladly give up 5% lightning damage for 10% chain hit. That is definitely a worthy trade because 10% chain hit is much more than 10% all attack. It's worth at least 15-20% all attack. And that's before you consider other synergies and before you consider the possibility of diminishing returns on things like attack stats. So yeah, these are the first two great effects, but that's not all. They didn't just change his passives and his uniform effect. They changed more. So they did give him a brand new fourth skill called Cosmic Judgement, and it's got a tapping and holding effect like Sabretooth's third skill, like Dakin's fourth skill, I believe, where if you charge it and you press the skill and you hold it down, it charges up and it gives you additional effects. Now, I didn't get to the details on this. I didn't get the details of this on the APK in my original video because I was getting it from other players and it was just difficult to explain to you guys without showing you. But basically, I'll try to explain it now. Before, on the APK, before this change, you had to hold the skill down all the way to the end in order to get the accumulation and the heal. There's still, there was an unlisted heal for 20%, but you had to hold the skill all the way to the end to get that. I don't know how many seconds it was, like 1 or 2 seconds, but still. Now, as you can see, the heal is listed, so it's a listed heal, so it's not unlisted, so everyone will know that he has that heal, 20% heal on his 4th skill. He always had that, it's just now that they're listing it. But now the heal triggers at the beginning of the skill being held down. You can still hold the skill down, as you can see the orange stat there, or the orange text. Tapping and holding the skill icon will charge it, and releasing it will commence the attack. Tapping it and charging it will probably give you more hits, will probably give you more damage. It's going to synergize more with a CTP of Rage than it will with like an energy or a regular proc, or, you know, it'll synergize better with Rage and Judgment. But anyways, the heal activates at the beginning and the heal is listed, and they bumped up his accumulation. They doubled it. They doubled it or they tripled it. I believe the accumulation was either 0.2% increase all attacks or 0.3% increase all attacks. But now it is 0.6%. And you might still be thinking to yourself, that's not very much, Alex. But it is. That's a really big deal. Anywhere from like 0.6 to 1% increase can actually have a huge effect on a character. And Thor has decent stat totals. He doesn't have the highest stat totals, but he has decent stat totals. So he is going to make a lot out of that accumulation. And you have to couple that with the fact that this buff, they did reduce the buff by 10%, so you can see the balancing involved. It was a 70%, but he's still getting a 60% attack and defense buff. So this 60% is then going to stack with this plus 0.6 of the accumulation, and his attack stat, his energy attack stat, is just going to skyrocket. Not to mention, this is a 10-second buff. Now, some people are making a big deal out of it being a 24-second cooldown, which means with max skill cooldown, it's going to be 12 seconds in between, but that's not so bad. On the one hand, it's a charging skill, so you're going to be charging it for 1 or 2 seconds anyways, plus the 1 or 2 seconds after that of the actual animation. So you're really not going to notice the first 4 seconds of the cooldown. So it's really only going to appear to be about an 8-second cooldown, 9-second cooldown by the time you're actually pressing another skill, because you're not going to necessarily insta-cancel 4. You might, but you might not. Secondly, they did the right thing here. They gave him a 10-second buff on all of these effects. 10 seconds on a 12-second timer is awesome. It still means you're probably going to want to cap his crit rate at 75% if you're using a Rage for the absolute maximum value. You don't have to, but again, if you're like a super Thor fan, you're going to want to do that. And I'll give you another example of a character that already exists in the game that has this. And you're going to be like, oh, he's as strong as him? That's right, his father, Odin. So I said it, you know, I've mentioned it before, but his, which one is it here? Yeah, this one here. His 5th skill has a 30% crit rate buff. So you might be thinking, well, 30 minus 75 is 45, so you only need to give Odin 45% crit rate, the soft cap. But as you can see there, it's 6-second buff. And the cooldown is 18 seconds, which is 9. So for 3 seconds, you're not going to have that 30% crit rate. So even though you could give Odin 45% crit rate, you're better off, if you want, again, maximum damage with a Rage, you're better off capping his crit rate on the outset. So then you're never below 75%. Those 3 seconds are never going to cost you any damage from his Rage proc. So just like his father, Thor, just like his father Odin, Thor has the same sort of effect there. And then remember, the other thing is the 24-second cooldown is actually potentially a really good thing because of the way that the tier 3 charge up multipliers work. So we discovered this in a few months ago in a video. I most notably talked about Professor X, where they reduced his multipliers to make his tier 3 charge up a little slower. On the flip side, they increased, or at least they kept Ghost Rider's multipliers the same. Ghost Rider has he has 2 really long cooldowns. 3 is a 30-second cooldown, which is 6 seconds longer than Thor's, and then 5 is a 20-second cooldown. So between these 2 skills, it's 50 seconds of cooldown. And this one's still 16, so he really doesn't have any short cooldowns except 2 and 1. He's awesome. Ghost Rider's amazing. Now, of course, Ghost Rider has other passives that make him really good, like Repentance and stuff, but he charges up his tier 3 really quickly because the multipliers on 3, 4, and 5 are high, and so it multiplies it by the base cost of the cooldown, not the augmented cost. So having high cooldowns on your best skills isn't necessarily a bad thing. And then you combine that with the fact that they buffed the damage, and they buffed the animation, and they buffed the number of hits on Thor's tier 3 skill. If Thor charges up his tier 3 skill faster because of the cooldown, and then hits even harder, and he still gets 10 seconds of those buffs, baby, you are in for an absolute treat. So I don't have the details on just how good, just how much better this has made Thor. A bunch of content creators, you know, Beast Mode and all those guys have made videos since Thor got his buff like about, you know, 12 hours ago. But I'm just really happy to see A, the devs listening to us, and B, you know, the appropriate changes being made, because sure, you can buff the character, but the fact that they're trying to, you know, balance things out and they're trying to do things in the right way obviously shows a level of you know, respect for the content and stuff, but also attention to detail, and that's really important. That's what we want to see. We want to see attention to detail. We want to see these characters properly represented. It's a Thor update. He's gonna smash it. I cannot be more hyped for that. And yeah, I just wanted to bring that information to you guys, and I wanted to, you know, maybe calm some of the flames, some of the embers of players who thought that Thor wasn't going to be good enough, that, you know, the update was ruined or whatever. Even if Thor didn't get this buff, I still think he would have been okay, but it's nice to see that the devs are making sure and taking care of the, you know, main character from the update. It's like if it would be sort of like if Hulk wasn't as strong as he is, right? And remember, we were upset. Remember, just in case you forgot, we were upset when they took off, was it a frenzy buff, or he had some sort of buff on his 5th skill? They removed that, and they instead gave him the debuff removal, and people were up in arms that Hulk wasn't gonna be good enough. Hulk's plenty good. He can still kill Sentry 6 months later. So I think we, and I'm probably partially to blame for this, I think we sort of criticize the devs too much for their character balancing. They have done a fantastic job in the last 8 months, 9 months, with pretty much every single character rework. There has not been a character rework that they have faltered on. There are a few characters that you could say maybe deserved a little bit more, like Molecule Man or Iron Patriot, but they definitely did not. I mean, all the animations are beautiful, gorgeous, and, you know, they're batting like 90%, 90 to 95% of all of the character reworks. I'm not talking about new characters, I'm just talking about reworks this year have been absolutely outstanding. And you can go back to the beginning of the year and see that in all of these characters. So got to give it up to the devs. Got to show some love. They did a fantastic job. And Thor, he's coming. So next video will be the patch notes, and then we'll be jumping into the content. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and watching. Hopefully you're having a great start to your 2021. I know I am. I will see you in the next one, and take care.